This is Football Night in America, served by Applebee's.
Mike Florio joins us. Drew Brees, Tony Dungy, Mike Tirico. Glad to settle what happened week 7 of the NFL season. So if I would have told you there would be a Kansas City-Tennessee game, and it will fit with the theme of the day where the average margin of victory is around 20 points, you say, wow, Mahomes probably threw for 450 yards. No, it's Tennessee that does it to Kansas City. So let's take both sides of the coin. Let's start with Kansas City because they've been to the Super Bowl the last 2 years out of the AFC. Time to worry, Tony?
It is time to worry for me. We keep saying, oh, they're going to come out of it, they'll snap out of it, they'll play, but they have not. And it's still untimely penalties, keeping drives going with bad play on defense. And then offensively, pass protection is a problem. They haven't run the ball really well, and they've just been careless with the football, Drew.
And I sense that they're starting to press. They score 3 points today. They can't even score an offensive touchdown. And you see these uncharacteristic mistakes of Patrick Mahomes. Well, he knows he's got to score 30 points a game to win, so he's starting to take these chances that I don't think we've ever seen him really need to take. And so it's resulting in turnovers. The protection hasn't been good. Obviously, that's been a factor. But teams have just started to play them different, and they do not have an answer yet.
Mike Florio, before I bring you in, I want to ask you guys just a football question here because the two safeties, Tampa Bay in the Super Bowl against Kansas City and everybody else, keep it in front of you, make them go 10, 12 plays. Well, that can happen in the league with talented teams, and this is a talented Kansas City team with a great play caller in Andy Reid. What are you observing as Kansas City continues to see this steady diet of that?
When people play you like that, and Drew knows, he got played like that sometimes, and you just have to be precise and patient and say, you know what, we can take a 12-play drive, and we can go down the field 7, 8 yards at a time. Kansas City has lost their patience at times and just feeling like I've still got to make that big play even when it's not there.
It's that, and teams have had success with the tipped interceptions or the, hey, we're gonna get you into third and long at some point because the protection's going to break down and we're going to get you. Exactly. So, to your point, though, the patience. It's okay to take the 5-yard completion and put together these 15, 16-play drives. They're not used to doing that, but they're going to have to be before it's too late because they're in a position now where they're at the bottom of their division. Yeah. We think we ever would have said that about this team. But they're going to have to dig themselves out of it one game at a time. Listen, they're still a playoff team, but they have to figure it out. And they were scoring 30 points a game anyway, just with their old style. But they just need to continue to work towards being more patient.
You got to find the satisfaction in the precision and the patience as opposed to the sizzle, which is what they
the huge play. We've got enough talent. We'll just make this big play whenever we need it.
That's what helped them rise up. So, Mike Florio, what's your read on the concern level with the Chiefs right now?
Oh, it has to be significant. They've lost their mystique. We've been saying that for the past few weeks, and it goes both ways. It's a mystique that has allowed the Chiefs to say we can turn it on whenever we want, and it's also a mystique that has the opponents constantly on guard that the Chiefs are going to turn it on whenever they want. And that part of it's still there. That's the problem. The Titans were ready for the onslaught that never came. Ryan Tannehill told me that after the game. They were very aware of what the Chiefs can do because when they played in the 2019 AFC Championship game and the Titans were up 10 points in the first half, what happened? The Chiefs found the gas pedal. So their opponents have yet to dismiss them. They're dismissing themselves. They're pressing. Whatever the issue is, they've lost that magic, but the teams that are playing them are very wary of the fact that the magic can come back even if today it never showed up.
And Tony and Drew, in a sentence here, what does Tennessee 7-day span of beating Buffalo on Monday night, Kansas City on Sunday do for the Titans?
It gives them a lot of confidence for sure, and I know they were pointing to these games. If they can play consistently, they've demonstrated they can play with the best in the league.
They have. I think when you look at their schedule here over the next few weeks, it's going to test them a lot. They go to Indianapolis, then they go to the Rams. So they got some games here over the next couple weeks that are going to continue to test them. But their formula of running the football with Derrick Henry, which is opening up big play opportunities for guys like A.J. Brown and Julio Jones, that is the formula for winning for them and has been now for the last couple of years.
Mike Florio, let's spin to the other big headline story from this Sunday number 7. That's Cincinnati. We started to believe in the Bengals. We've seen good signs. You go to Baltimore and just really put the pedal to the metal in the second half, dominate that game. Do you walk away with a different feeling on Cincinnati after watching that performance?
Absolutely, because last year when the Bengals went to Baltimore fairly early in the season before Joe Burrow was injured, it was 27-3. And last week, this is a point Mike Golick made on PFT Live on Monday. Justin Herbert, the Chargers quarterback, after the Chargers were shut down by the Ravens, Herbert said that what they saw from the Ravens defense they had not seen on film, that the Ravens did something completely new, something completely unexpected. I got the impression, talking to tight end C.J. Uzomah today, the Bengals did that to the Ravens today. The Bengals confused the Ravens. The Bengals made the right moves at the right time, and the Ravens weren't ready for it. And, it's just one of those things. We're at a point in the season where there's enough film out there. You can maybe try to crack a team's code, maybe surprise a team. But I got the impression the Bengals did to the Ravens today what the Ravens did to the Chargers last week.
We've got a lot of rulers in the NFL to measure the Pro Football Focus, stats, standings. I got a whole bunch of data here, right? You live through this, the division that you're in. You build to beat the best teams in your division. Tony, you made such a really cool point to us watching the games on Sunday that last year Joe Burrow against Baltimore, this year Joe Burrow against Baltimore shows you how the second-year quarterback has grown.
It really does. And I'm kind of frustrated at times when people say, oh, let the quarterback learn, just let him sit that first year. When you're out there, you learn a lot. Peyton Manning threw 1,000 interceptions his first year as a player. But that second year, he knew those defenses. He played against them, and now he's better. Joe Burrow was markedly better this time around. He looked just so under control and confident today.
He did. They played with so much confidence. 10 explosive plays. I mean, it's pretty unheard of, and it went to a lot of different guys. And it was run game and it was pass game. But to your point, Tony, his composure against a defense that is multiple and is going to give you a ton of different looks. It's pressure, it's disguise, it's man, it's drop eight, it's all these different looks, and he didn't bat an eye at it. And it found completion after completion, big play after big play. And talking about a measuring stick game, they have to feel really good about where they are as a team right now because they've continued to get better and better. But this was the team to beat in their division right now.
No doubt. They zeroed in on this game.
The best records in the AFC are 5-2 Baltimore, Tennessee, Las Vegas, and Cincinnati.
Watch out for Las Vegas.
Yeah, they've responded with Rich Bisaccia as their interim coach with 2 wins. Drew, let's talk about the Lions game against the LA Rams because there was so much made about the quarterbacks and coming back against their old teams. Jared Goff, Matthew Stafford, former first overall picks. The Lions played a third game against a good team that they were in and had a chance to win. But what do you think the game meant for Stafford and for Sean McVay going up against Jared Goff, who he had and took him to a Super Bowl, but obviously they felt they needed something else, and Stafford showed you that little something else that they acquired him for.
Listen, he can stretch the field, and he can do things for this Rams offense that they've probably been missing. And the rapport he's building with Cooper Kupp and the rest of these weapons, they're putting up a ton of points, and they're really able to stretch the field big time. Jared Goff obviously in a much tougher situation now going to Detroit, but the way that they've battled against some really good teams, the Rams, the Ravens, and others, it's one of those where you're just waiting for them to break the seal and get their first win. You knew they were going to have to pull out every stop today.
They did.
On the road there, which they did, right? And kudos to them. They got 2 fake punts, 1 onside kick.
Did you ever do that, Tony? 2 fake punts in one game?
No, never tried to. But this is why the Rams got Matthew Stafford. This was a game where Detroit did everything, and they did things that weren't expected. And the Rams were not on. They were a little bit off. But then Matthew Stafford makes the throws that they had to have in the fourth quarter to win the game. And sometimes that's the difference between going to the Super Bowl or staying home is one throw at the right time when you need it. And Matthew Stafford won the game for him today.
And Mike Florio, this was kind of a different one because Stafford had been in Detroit so long, and you go up against a team that you played for a dozen years, got to the playoffs a few times. Drew, you guys beat them in New Orleans in a wild card game. Usually there'd be that seed of bitterness. I didn't sense any of that from Stafford or maybe a little bit from Goff, but not from Stafford going back up against his old team today.
Well, and there were some comments in the Detroit Free Press today from Sheila Ford Hamp, the owner of the team, about how Matthew Stafford came to her with an emotional request to be traded. There wasn't a sense of any acrimony there. It was just time for him to move on, and he asked to move on, and they let him move on. This wasn't like the Jared Goff situation where he gets thrown overboard by the Rams a year and a half after they give him a new contract. So I can see why Stafford wouldn't be upset. They let him have a chance to get something better, and look at what he's gotten, and look at where it's going. And it's exactly what the Rams needed. They were limited in what they could do with Jared Goff. They never should have given him that second contract, and now they have to be thrilled to have Matthew Stafford, one of the best teams in the NFL.
And they go to Houston next week. Time for us to hit the speed round here. And, Mike, I'll start right back with you. Tony weighed in on this a little bit. The Raiders under interim coach Rich Bisaccia, 2-0. How surprised are you?
Extremely surprised, because let's face it, if the John Gruden stuff had come to the head before the season and he would have been out, maybe as it should have or could have, Rich Bisaccia wouldn't have been the head coach. They would have hired somebody else. So for him to be thrust into this role and embrace it, and for Derek Carr to become the leader of the team, Bisaccia has said that Carr is the voice of the team right now. It's amazing to see what they're doing.
And, Drew, Carr was 31 of 34 passing. That's an obscene number today.
And I think we should bring up, too, Greg Olson has taken over the play calling and has been with Derek Carr now for a few years, was in Gruden's system for a long time. So you don't really feel like they've skipped a beat as far as what they're able to do offensively, that relationship. Derek Carr started off this season on fire. They had a little bit of a hiccup for a few games, but they seem to be back on track and doing a lot of great things, but it starts and ends with Derek Carr.
And I'll tell you about Rich Bisaccia. Every place he's been, not just the special teams players who he coaches, but everybody on the team gravitates to him. I've had players tell me they go into the special teams meetings even if they're not on special teams. That's how much they appreciate him. And it shows. They're playing disciplined ball. They're playing hard. And this was a difficult circumstance. You lose your head coach and your play steps up a little bit. That says a lot.
Especially given the massive amount of controversy and attention that came along with it. So, Mike, Sam Darnold was benched in Carolina. It was a 3-0 start. McCaffrey gets hurt. The defense is playing poorly, but the headline right now is the quarterback getting benched. What do we read there with what they're doing with Carolina?
Well, it's amazing how quickly he's fallen after those first 3 games when they were 3-0, but they are definitely in on the Deshaun Watson chase. And as we mentioned a couple of times tonight, the idea that it comes down to Watson because he's got the no-trade clause. And it's Miami, which is considered to be the favorite, but he could still end up in Carolina. And we know David Tepper, the owner of the team, is desperate to get a franchise quarterback. They rolled the dice with Teddy Bridgewater last year. It didn't work out. They rolled the dice with Darnold this year. It's not working out. They owe him $18 million guaranteed next year, by the way. And it sounds like they're willing to roll the dice again to get that quarterback that's going to be a difference maker week in and week out.
Yeah, listen, I was benched 3 times in my career, and at one time it was for a 5-game stretch. And I learned more during that time than at any other point in my career, and came back and had more success after that than any time in my career. And so I feel like this is one of those moments for Sam Darnold where, hey, you're going one of 2 directions, but use this adversity as an opportunity to really self-evaluate and, you know, be the best that you can be.
And Matt Rule said he was looking for a spark, so we don't know how long this will go on.
And we can point the finger at Sam Darnold, but Christian McCaffrey being out hurts them.
Yeah.
They've dropped a ton of balls. We saw a game 2 weeks ago where they had 3 or 4 touchdown passes. Robbie Anderson and Moore just dropping footballs. So it's not all Sam Darnold. Sometimes the quarterback gets the blame for everything, but Sam's got to play better, and he's got to protect the ball, but they've got to play better as an offense.
Often you don't know what's going on with the team until you're there, you talk to the players, you watch the film. But just observing their game as we were watching, it just looked like they were lacking confidence. They were lacking that little togetherness that you need as a team on the road against the Giants. Last one, the Dolphins are 1-6. Obviously, the Watson trade rumors. They get the update on that first. Mike, you gave some of it. Give the Miami perspective on that, and then we'll talk about what's going on with the Dolphins on the field.
Yeah, the owner of the team, Stephen Ross, has wanted Deshaun Watson for weeks. And back in late August, early September, the impediment was that the Texans wanted too much, and they wouldn't soften that trade demand to account for the potential unavailability of Watson this year, next year, or whenever with the legal issue that he's dealing with. But 1-6 goes a long way toward getting Stephen Ross willing to give the Texans what they want, and that's where it stands. And it comes down to Watson. There are some questions regarding the comfort level of the 2 teams with the pending civil lawsuits and the criminal complaints, but Watson's got a decision to make. He's got the no-trade clause, and the Dolphins still really want him, and Ross has not given up on his desire to get the guy that he covets.
Well, you're talking about a new quarterback. I want to ask you guys what you saw with Tua, who was 32 of 40, did throw 2 picks, but had 4 touchdowns in the game against Atlanta today.
Well, the picks have been the problem. He had one bad one last week, 2 this week. He's playing good football, but they're not stopping anybody. So you're playing from behind a lot. You're feeling like I've got to score every time I've got the ball. That puts a lot of pressure on a quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say one of the big disappointments of this season has been that Miami defense. I think we all expected them to come in and play a lot better, which ends up being a quarterback's best friend. But as far as the way he played today, I thought he played extremely well, with the exception of those 2 turnovers.
Hey, listen, I've got a busy week, so I need to do some early shopping. Florio, next Sunday's Halloween. What is your favorite Halloween candy?
Wow. Hershey, I'm on a Hershey bar kick right now. Very simple, plain milk chocolate. Hershey bar, baby.
Incredibly boring. Tony?
Reese's Cups.
Sorry.
Reese's Cups?
I'm going to go Charleston Chew.
Do they still make those?
It's old school.
That is really old school, man.
Kind of an old school guy.
I know you're old soul and old school. That is really old. Twizzlers.
All right.
Give me a good pack of Twizzlers, right? They're always wrapped, so they're safe. They get the mini, sometimes the rainbow. You can't beat them. So hope that helps you plan your Halloween candy giving. And Halloween on Sunday is a whole different deal now. Be ready to watch your games and leave the candy outside for the kids. They won't take it all, right? Right? See you next week. Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.